Most people chase power in visible forms: status, money, attention, titles. They believe these things protect them, that if others admire them, envy them, or need them, they become untouchable. But visibility is not armor. It is exposure. Wealth creates expectations. Status invites challenge. Attention attracts hands that want to pull, test, or take. The louder your presence, the more people feel entitled to you. Real safety is quieter. It does not announce itself or demand recognition. It removes the invitation altogether. The mistake is thinking power is something you display. In reality, what you display becomes accessible, and anything accessible can be pressured, influenced, or threatened. That truth changes how strength is measured, felt, and quietly maintained over time. Most people try to control outcomes, conversations, and people. Control feels strong, but it creates friction. The moment you try to direct someone, you reveal intention. Intention invites resistance. Even compliance carries quiet resentment. Distance works differently. Distance removes urgency. It denies others a surface to push against. When you stop forcing reactions, situations unfold with less opposition. You see motives clearly because you are not tangled inside them. Distance is not avoidance. It is selective engagement. You step back, not to disappear, but to let pressure collapse on its own. Those who rush forward become predictable. Those who wait appear grounded, deliberate, and difficult to provoke. Their calm reframes power as patience, not domination or force over time again. Machiavelli is often mistaken for a teacher of cruelty. In truth, he was a careful observer of human weakness. He watched fear, ambition, and pride repeat themselves across generations. His insights were not commands, but warnings. He understood that people expose themselves when they chase control, praise, or certainty. His advantage was silence. He studied patterns while others acted on impulse. He saw how restraint outlasts aggression. Untouchability, in his view, was never about ruling others. It was about ruling yourself so completely that manipulation finds no entry. That perspective is colder, calmer, and far more enduring than force. It invites respect without demand, strength without noise, and authority that survives long after attention fades in the real world. Quietly. Every reaction you show becomes a map for other people. A raised eyebrow, a sharp reply, a quick defense. These are not harmless moments. They reveal where you are sensitive, what you care about, and how easily you can be pushed. People do not need to know your intentions if they can read your reactions. Over time, they learn which buttons produce emotion and which ones produce silence. That knowledge becomes leverage. Most influence does not come from clever words, but from repeated observation. The more expressive you are, the easier you are to navigate. Awareness changes this. When you notice your reactions, instead of just feeling them, you take back information. You stop broadcasting entry points and start seeing how often others look for them. This alone explains why impulsive people are always surrounded by pressure from outside forces. Neutral response is often confused with emptiness. It is not about feeling nothing. It is about choosing not to leak emotion on command. When praise does not lift you and criticism does not bend you, your surface becomes unreadable. People test, then pause. They wait for feedback that never arrives. This discipline creates space. Inside that space, you remain calm while others reveal themselves. Neutrality is not weakness. It is containment. You still feel anger, excitement, and fear, but they stay internal, processed privately, not performed publicly. Over time, this changes how you are treated. Conversations slow down. Provocation loses its reward. You are no longer a mirror. You become a wall with depth. It signals self-command without explanation and forces others to adjust their approach because nothing obvious is given back to work with or react against emotionally there. Calm unsettles people who rely on emotion to steer situations. Silence after provocation feels heavier than any argument. Restraint suggests confidence that does not need proof. When you do not rush to defend yourself, others wonder why. They search for angles, then second-guess them. Your stillness creates uncertainty, and uncertainty weakens aggression. This is why calm is often misread as superiority. It is not about appearing above others. It is about being unreachable. Intimidation here is quiet. It does not threaten, it waits. Over time, people approach you more carefully. They measure words. They hesitate before testing limits. What they feel is not fear, but respect shaped by boundaries they cannot see. That invisible line protects you without confrontation or explanation and leaves others managing their own emotions instead of yours, which quietly shifts the balance of every interaction. Around predictability feels safe, but it is exposure disguised as routine. When your habits are obvious, people stop guessing and start planning. They know when you react, when you hesitate, and when you can be rushed. Patterns become handles. Once someone understands your rhythm, they no longer respond to you, they move you. This is how pressure works quietly. Nothing dramatic is required. Small expectations form, then get used against you. Awareness sharpens this instinct without turning you paranoid. You begin noticing how often you repeat yourself, show up the same way, answer too quickly, or reveal timing. These details seem harmless, yet they create a profile others can navigate. The goal is not randomness. It is removing certainty. When people cannot predict your next move, they lose the comfort needed to manipulate outcomes in advance. Before actions even begin fully, consistency is often mistaken for repetition. Repeating behavior makes you readable, but consistency lives deeper. It comes from values that do not shift under pressure. When your principles are stable, your actions can change without confusion. People sense coherence without being able to predict specifics. This is where strength forms. You adapt without appearing lost. You adjust without explaining yourself. Internally, you are anchored. Externally, you are fluid. This balance removes anxiety. You no longer need to maintain an image or script. Decisions align naturally because they come from the same core. Others may struggle to label you, but they trust your direction. That trust does not come from familiarity. It comes from alignment. When values are clear and behavior is flexible, you move freely while remaining grounded. This creates quiet confidence without rigidity or fear in social situations consistently. Ambiguity is powerful when it is intentional. Saying less gives your words weight. Revealing later protects your options. Acting selectively preserves energy and attention. You do not owe immediate clarity to anyone. When information is delayed, curiosity replaces assumption. People fill silence with their own projections, often exposing more than you ever could. This creates leverage without force. Strategic ambiguity is not deception. It is timing. You decide when understanding is earned. This slows interactions and shifts control subtly. Others begin to listen more closely because nothing is wasted. Over time, your presence feels measured. You appear deliberate, not distant. Each action feels chosen rather than reactive. That perception builds authority that does not need explanation and invites respect without demand. It keeps attention focused forward while your intentions remain, quietly protected from unnecessary interference or premature judgment by others. Approval rarely feels like dependence at first. It feels polite, reasonable, human. But every time you seek it, you enter an unspoken contract. You adjust your words, soften your edges, delay your truth. In return, you hope for acceptance. That hope is the cost. Once someone senses you want approval, they gain influence without effort. They can withdraw warmth, delay responses, or hint at disapproval, and you feel pressure to correct yourself. Control is handed over quietly. This realization is uncomfortable because it exposes how often behavior is shaped by invisible audiences. The relief comes when you see approval for what it is, optional. When you stop negotiating your actions for validation, the contract dissolves. And so does the leverage it once gave others over you, completely and permanently gone. Indifference is often mistaken for coldness, but it is freedom in disguise. When you no longer chase reactions, your mind becomes lighter. You speak without rehearsing outcomes. You listen without scanning for approval. This is not arrogance. Arrogance needs validation to survive. Indifference does not. It allows you to exist without constant adjustment. Social pressure weakens because there is nothing to pull on. You stop performing and start choosing. Conversations feel cleaner. Silence feels comfortable. You are present without being attached to how you are received. That detachment creates space to think clearly and respond deliberately. In that space, anxiety fades, and interaction becomes something you enter by choice, not obligation, which restores a quiet sense of personal freedom. It feels expansive, steady, self-directed, grounded, and quietly empowering over time. Respect cannot be chased without shrinking yourself. The harder you pursue it, the more you signal need. True respect forms when your actions align with who you are, regardless of response. You do what feels correct even when it is unnoticed. Over time, people sense this alignment. They may not agree with you, but they recognize stability. That stability creates trust. You stop explaining yourself and start standing by decisions. Respect grows quietly because it is not demanded. It is observed. When approval is removed from the equation, your behavior becomes cleaner and more deliberate. Others respond differently because you are no longer asking to be seen. You are simply visible. That difference changes how you are treated, and how firmly you stand within yourself over extended periods ahead. Calmly. Constant presence feels productive, but it quietly erodes authority. When you are always available, always responding, always visible, people stop valuing access. Familiarity replaces respect because nothing feels earned. Your time appears cheap, even when your effort is not. Overexposure removes mystery, and mystery is where authority lives. When others know they can reach you at any moment, urgency disappears. Boundaries blur. You become part of the background noise rather than a deliberate presence. Restraint reverses this dynamic. Choosing not to appear everywhere restores weight to your participation. It signals that your attention is selective and your time intentional. That decision alone changes how messages are read, how silence is interpreted, and how seriously your presence is taken. This shift subtly alters perception without confrontation or explanation from others involved. Absence is often misunderstood as weakness, but it signals independence. When you step away without explanation, you show that your stability does not depend on constant interaction. This unsettles expectations. People begin to notice the space you leave behind. Absence creates contrast, and contrast creates value. It suggests that your life is full elsewhere, not waiting for response or reaction. This quiet self-sufficiency elevates how you are perceived internally as well. You stop measuring worth through visibility. Time alone strengthens identity. When you return by choice, not habit, your presence feels intentional. Curiosity grows because nothing feels forced. Absence reframes you as someone who does not chase relevance, and that alone reshapes how others engage with you. Over time, this pattern builds quiet confidence without announcement or defense from anyone. Reappearing at the right moment gives presence weight. Timing turns visibility into impact. When you speak after silence, people listen differently. Your words land because anticipation has formed. This is not manipulation. It is awareness of rhythm. Showing up only when aligned with purpose protects your narrative. You are no longer reacting to events. You are entering them deliberately. Each appearance feels chosen. This restores control over how you are perceived. Others stop assuming access and start paying attention. Momentum builds quietly. When presence is rare, it carries gravity. You decide when to step forward and when to remain unseen. That choice shapes the story around you without explanation, effort, or force. It allows influence to accumulate naturally while you stay centered, patient and internally composed over long periods ahead. Need creates gravity. The more you depend on someone, something, or an outcome, the easier it is to pull you off balance. Dependence sharpens fear of loss, and fear makes behavior predictable. This is why emotional need becomes a quiet vulnerability. When you need less, you regain leverage over yourself. You can walk away sooner. You can wait longer. You can choose without desperation. Strength forms when attachments loosen, not when they disappear entirely. Reducing need does not mean isolation. It means clarity. You see what matters without clinging. Others sense this stability because pressure no longer moves you easily. When nothing essential is at stake, you stand firmer, respond slower, and remain difficult to push, rush, or corner emotionally. External reassurance feels comforting, but it weakens inner structure over time. When confidence depends on feedback, silence becomes threatening. Internal validation works differently. It is built through keeping promises to yourself, acting in alignment, and surviving uncertainty without collapse. Self-trust grows quietly, without applause. Once established, it becomes armor. Praise no longer inflates you. Criticism no longer penetrates deeply. You begin measuring yourself by standards that do not shift with mood or opinion. This creates calm because stability no longer lives outside you. Decisions feel cleaner. Doubt fades faster. You move forward without waiting for permission or reassurance. That autonomy changes posture, tone, and presence in subtle ways others feel immediately over time, without effort, explanation, or constant self-defense patterns. Taking things personally ties your emotions to other people's behavior. Praise lifts you to high. Criticism cuts too deep. Both create dependency. Detachment restores balance. When nothing is taken personally, information replaces emotion. You observe without absorbing. Compliments become data, not identity. Insults become noise, not wounds. This shift creates emotional immunity. You remain steady regardless of external tone. Over time, peace replaces vigilance. Energy once spent defending dissolves. You respond from choice instead of reflex. Life feels lighter because fewer moments demand emotional reaction. This quiet resilience compounds daily, protecting focus, clarity, and self-respect. Without constant interpretation, relationships simplify, conflicts fade faster, and your inner state remains yours, untouched by moods, projections, or careless opinions from others around you. Impulse feels honest, but it exposes you. Fast reactions reveal priorities, fears, and limits before you have assessed the field. When you rush to respond, you give timing away. You show what matters most and what unsettles you. Others learn how to speed you up, distract you, or provoke mistakes. This is why pressure favors those who wait. Slowing your response does not mean hesitation. It means observation. You collect context while others spend energy. Layers appear that were invisible at first glance. Motives surface. Options expand. With patience, you choose actions instead of discharging emotion. That shift slows the mind, sharpens judgment, and removes the giveaways that impulse hands to anyone paying attention without apology or urgency today. Now, time is a force most people waste by fighting it. They push for outcomes, demand answers, and rush closure. Patience applies pressure differently. When you wait, others fill the silence with effort. They reveal intentions, adjust positions, and make concessions. Time stretches uncertainty for them, not you. Waiting does not mean doing nothing. It means allowing situations to mature while you remain steady. Confidence grows when you are not chasing resolution. Urgency fades. Anticipation replaces it. You trust that clarity arrives on its own schedule. By letting time work, you conserve energy and gain leverage quietly. Because those who cannot wait eventually act first. And first moves often expose the most weak points and hidden intentions without force applied now. Memory becomes dangerous when mixed with emotion. Resentment distorts recall and keeps you reactive to the past. Long memory, used correctly, is neutral. You remember patterns, not pain. You store behavior, not feelings. This allows learning without bitterness. When you observe without carrying anger, you stay clear. Information remains intact. You do not forget, but you also do not relive. This balance signals maturity. It prevents repeated mistakes without poisoning judgment. Others may move on emotionally, but you retain awareness. That awareness is quiet power. You respond based on accumulated understanding, not wounded pride. By remembering calmly, you stay oriented toward the long game, where patience, clarity, and timing matter more than temporary satisfaction over fleeting victories and loud reactions. Untouchability is not spoken. It does not announce itself with words or displays. It is felt in the way someone carries themselves, how they respond or choose not to respond. Presence alone communicates boundaries, discipline, and clarity. Others sense it before they understand it. You do not need to explain. You do not need to perform. The quiet weight of knowing who you are, of acting in alignment with that self, radiates more authority than any claim could. People adjust instinctively. Access is controlled without confrontation. Influence becomes a subtle, constant force simply because you exist with steadiness, intent, and uncompromised composure, clearly projected in every interaction around you. Living beyond reaction and fear transforms daily experience. When provocation passes without effect, when criticism slides off unclaimed, you operate from calm finality. You do not chase outcomes or wrestle with resentment. You observe, respond selectively, and move forward unshaken. Fear loses leverage because nothing external dictates your state. Actions are deliberate, not defensive. Silence carries weight. Words are measured. You navigate life with certainty that is invisible but unshakable. This removes urgency, reduces tension, and allows decisions to form with clarity. Emotional detachment does not create distance from reality, creates mastery over it, allowing presence and purpose to guide every choice, rather than the whims or judgments of others around you quietly. The true advantage is invisible. It leaves no trace and demands no acknowledgement. Others may never realize why you are difficult to sway or why influence seems to follow your path subtly. You move through situations with discretion, leaving patterns behind without announcement. Decisions accumulate power slowly and silently. Respect is sensed, not granted. Influence exists without attention. That quiet advantage produces satisfaction that cannot be shaken by external validation or challenge. It is an internal state of mastery, a stillness that carries authority, and a clarity that endures beyond observation. Few will notice, and that is the point. The real power is never flashy. It is internal, assured, and untouchable.